Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. With this slump that I'm on, the slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Bettor Off Dead, Friday, August 8th. 8-8. Do I want to go into the hidden meaning of that on the show? Get my YouTube channel nuked? Probably not. Go watch my ukulele covers, man. Maybe we will potentially end it all here, because yesterday didn't go well. My dildo analysis was not great, as somehow a dildo did get thrown. Somebody snuck a dildo into the Chicago Sky Arena there. It was the Chicago game, which I think was one of the locations of one of the other dildo throws. Dildo throw number 2, I believe. It was purple this time, however. So purple got the money yesterday. Not sure who the first person who touched it was, although I think it was probably an employee, because I saw the ref signaling for somebody to come get it. So that would be my guess on that one. I don't know if that was confirmed by other video footage. And then it was, I assume, picked up rather than kicked. I don't know if that was still a bet or not, but most of the bets were pretty much on the color of it, though. So purple got the money, which is not what I expected, although it is the eggplant emoji. So I guess, I don't know, that didn't make its way into my analysis. I'm new to the breaking down of the dildo props, man. But we did lose the actual play I gave out on the show yesterday. Cincinnati Reds. It wasn't even close. Paul Skeens dominated. I mean, I expected Skeens to be good, but I thought Singer would show up in that game. It would be close later into the game, and then I thought the tide kind of shifted to Cincinnati if I got later in that game. Cincinnati, the team's still playing for something, too, so I don't know. I was pretty surprised they got their ass handed to them 7-0. I did not think Pittsburgh would score 7 runs. No way. We'll move on to today, though. And then my NFL preseason analysis, I don't think any of the favorites wound up covering the number, and I think 2 of them might have lost outright, and then the Seattle-Vegas game. Oakland Raiders, folks. The Seattle-Vegas game, I think, was a tie, because preseason, they're like, we don't want anybody to get hurt, whatever. It's a tie. But I think all 3 of the teams that were favored did go over their team total, though. So if you bet the team totals over, I think all 3 of them actually hit. So that was what I did recommend yesterday. So at least I had that right. And didn't actually bet it, because I don't really bet the NFL preseason. Maybe I should, but we'll talk about the NFL preseason again today. We'll go through WNBA. Unfortunately, I don't see any 5th dildo props out there. They might be. I mean, if you look at Bet Online, maybe they are out there. Wouldn't really have a whole lot else to say besides what happened, what I already said yesterday for the most part. But we will talk about these games. Which one of these games is considered first? New York at Dallas. I think the Liberty are in a bad spot here, man. I mean, they just beat Dallas in New York, only by 9, but facing Dallas again, they might kind of overlook Dallas. I mean, Dallas, not a very good team right now. And the Liberty have a big rematch against Minnesota coming up. That's the game that was the rematch of the finals last year, and Minnesota beat them. It could be a finals preview this year as well. So the Liberty may have a look-ahead spot there. So I think it is kind of a quick revenge spot for Dallas, plus Liberty in a look-ahead spot. Dallas coming off 3 straight losses. Although the Liberty, one reason they may show up, though, is I thought they fell out of first place. So they're only a half game ahead of Atlanta at this point, though. So they might be still trying to hang on to that number one spot there at the very least. But I still think the spot is not that good for the Liberty here. Dallas, you have to pay attention to the injuries, man. Mostly Becker's is listed as a game time decision. So I think if you do want to play Dallas in this game and take the points, you probably want to make sure she's in there. I don't know that if that's announced that she is, if the line is actually going to move a lot at this point. We know Stewart is out for the Liberty, which is kind of a big loss for them, I guess. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I don't expect this line to really change that much based on the personnel being announced in or out in this game. It's up from 7 to 8.5, though. I think maybe it'll slightly tick down if Becker's is back in there. The Liberty were an 11.5-point favorite at home in the home game recently, so this line is basically about where I would expect it to be, but I would lean to taking the points with Dallas. Washington at Minnesota. Minnesota coming off 3 pretty big wins in a row, man. They beat the Liberty, which is a huge win. As I said, finals revenge. Didn't suffer the letdown against Las Vegas, and they absolutely annihilated them. It was kind of an outlier game and one of the biggest wins in WNBA history, beating them by whatever that is, 53 points or whatever, which is ridiculous. Then they continued playing well, beat Seattle, pretty big win as well. Seattle, a decent team in the West, and now Minnesota returning home off of all that and facing kind of a bad Washington team. Looks like a bad spot for Minnesota to me. Washington, they are playing a third straight road game, though. They're not traveling that far from Chicago to Minnesota, so they actually have less travel here. Might want to bounce back a little bit. I mean, I think they're still maybe trying to potentially make a run to try to make the playoffs here. I would lean to taking the points with Washington. They're up to a 10.5-point underdog in that one. And then Seattle-Vegas, which is the most competitive or maybe the only competitive matchup of the night potentially, even though I did say I liked both underdogs there. Vegas coming off a home-and-home sweep against Golden State, coming back home off of that. Not really a huge travel spot from San Francisco, Bay Area to Las Vegas. Big game against Seattle. I mean, these two teams are tied right now, and they're definitely fighting to make the playoffs right now. So this is a big game for both teams. I expect both teams to show up. Seattle on a 3-game losing streak, but they lost to Indiana, Minnesota in there. I know it's Clarkless, Indiana, but Indiana's still playing pretty well right now. Vegas is down from a 1-point favorite to pick them here. So oddsmakers kind of telling you Seattle's actually the better of these two teams, even though Vegas, they have some pretty good players that they had last year, man. It's just Vegas been dealing with some injuries, some of their key players in and out. It looks like we don't have huge injury issues this time on either side. But yeah, the line, it seems to be indicating that Seattle's taking the early money there. Vegas kind of has more like name recognition just because they've been one of the better teams for quite a while, and they have the last year's MVP, Asia Wilson, still on their team. So I do with that information what you want to do, man. We'll move on to MLB. I actually am going to go with 4 Major League Baseball plays today. I have a lot of leans on this card as well, so hopefully I'm picking the right plays, man, picking the right spots here. And I kind of like some of the road favorites, including this first game up, which is not going to be one of my plays. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Oh, I forgot to throw out. Yeah, this is the rundown, folks. By the way, we're running down all the games here. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I actually do like the road favorite in this one, Cincinnati. One reason is the same as yesterday, where Cincinnati, they're going to be the team that has more to play for here, man. I mean, Pittsburgh is done, so Cincinnati, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. So that's one thing in favor of Cincinnati here. I do believe Pittsburgh has the better bullpen, though. Cincinnati has the better hitting. Cincinnati used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Pittsburgh used fewer because Skeens got pretty deep into the game. So Pittsburgh definitely has a bullpen edge here. Better bullpen plus rest. But Cincinnati has the better offense, man, still. I know Cincinnati lost 7-0 last night. Bad read on my part there. But Cincinnati, I think they're going to want to bounce back from that. I think they're going to be heavily motivated in this one. And I think they have the starting pitching edge with young fireballer Chase Burns on the mound here. I know his numbers look really bad so far, and he has yet to pick up a win. 6.04 ERA, 1.48 whip. Not good numbers at all. He's been really bad on the road as well, 9.28 ERA, but really bad. I mean, when you dig into these numbers, it's like, well, a lot of it is just skewed by one horrendous start against the Red Sox where he gave up 5 runs in a third of an inning. Other than that, he's been getting a lot of strikeouts, man. So he did have one other bad road start at Washington where he allowed 5 earned runs, but how bad was it really when he struck out 10 guys? I don't know. He's at least fooling hitters, man. He's been too walk heavy so far. That's been his main issue. In 28 and a third innings pitched, he has a ridiculous 47 strikeouts, extremely high strikeout rate, but 12 walks is a high walk rate for that amount of innings, man. Even though the strikeout rate is so high, the strikeout walk ratio is still pretty good, but he's got to get that wildness down. But he has the ability to fool major league hitters, obviously, as he had 10 strikeouts, 3 starts in a row, although I know Cincinnati's lost 5 starts in a row of his, or 6 actually now, all but his first start. And he was on his way to maybe having 10 strikeouts again in his last outing, but it was cut to 1 inning because there was a major rain delay. That was that Bristol Speedway game, I'm pretty sure, where rain actually canceled the game and they had to resume the game the next day, so they didn't put Burns back out there, obviously, after that. So he's just pitching on his normal schedule now, but that does mean he has extra rest coming into this because he didn't have to pitch a full game or anywhere near that. He got, he was on schedule. He remains on schedule because he got ready for a start, made the start, did well, threw 18 pitches, 1 shutout inning where he didn't put anybody on base. So I think he's ready to go, man. He'll be a bit more rested here. Pittsburgh has never seen him before as well, so Burns should have an extra edge here as well because Pittsburgh has never seen him before. So I do like the Burns side of it. Mitch Keller pitching for Pittsburgh. He's been pretty good this year. One of their better pitchers, really. 3.89 ERA, 1.22 whip. Seemed like they might try to deal him at the trade deadline, although that did not happen. He's been pretty similar home and away. Doesn't really matter. Fairly decent throughout his run of recent starts. He did give up 5 runs last time out, but it was at Coors Field, and it was because he gave up 3 home runs, so I might give him a pass for that, even though I didn't say the same thing about Skeens yesterday. Both of these guys did a little bit worse at Coors Field, just because I think the environment just kind of, threw them off. I mean, 3 home runs. That's something that is really only going to happen at Coors Field. And Keller was not allowing a lot of home runs prior to that. So I do think that's a bit of an outlier spot. Pittsburgh has actually won 5 of his last 6 games, 6 of his last 7, actually. So he's been pitching pretty well. Prior to that start, he hadn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start going all the way back to early June. Up against the Cincinnati Reds, mediocre numbers and 118 at-bats, 263 average allowed, 736 OPS. I'm going to give the edge to Burns, though. I'm going to give the edge to the Cincinnati hitting as well. But I would limit it to first 5 innings probably if I did this, just because Pittsburgh does have the bullpen edge, so I wouldn't really want to try to have to deal with that as far as playing the Cincinnati side. But I agree with Cincinnati. They've flipped from plus 109 to minus 109 here. 58% of tickets, 88% of the cash coming into them. Just not quite sure if I'm totally ready to trust Burns yet because he's been a little bit out of control. And Keller has also been decent against Cincinnati, so I worry a little bit about that. Wouldn't necessarily disagree with looking towards an under either. It's gone down from 8 to 7.5. 68% of tickets, 87% of the cash on the over, though. It's a low total, though, expecting maybe a wind blowing in here in Pittsburgh. I think when the wind's blowing in, it's a pretty pitcher-friendly ballpark. So you could see both pitchers do fairly well in this game, so I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that under. And again, Pittsburgh's offense is really bad, too, so that does help as far as an under is concerned, but I would worry a little bit about Cincinnati's bullpen later in the game as far as that under. Houston at the Yankees. We're going to have a lot of games today where teams didn't play yesterday because very few teams played yesterday. So you don't have to look at the bullpen usage for too many of these teams. When teams are rested, I tend to look towards unders more often than overs at the very least because I think the day off can kind of cool off the hitting a little bit. You get your bullpens rested here. Houston at New York. Both teams are off yesterday. The Yankees returning home from a road trip, though. And I always say teams returning home from road trips, it's not the greatest spot for them because they have to get back to home life. They can be a little bit distracted, although Houston has one of the better records in the AL, so the Yankees probably will still be focused on Houston here. Although the Yankees have definitely slid down. They haven't been playing well recently. They lost every game but one on that entire road trip. But they ended their loss streak in the last game with a win, barely, over Texas. So that might give them a little bit of momentum coming forward. So I don't think this is like the worst return home spot you could possibly be in. Houston, again, is a pretty good team that's going to draw their focus. Houston also just played Miami, and they just actually lost. So they are in the middle of a road trip, and they haven't been doing that well on this road trip either. They're traveling up the East Coast after they were already in the Northeast. They went down to Florida, and now they're coming back up to New York. So the travel spot, yeah, I mean, Houston could be getting a little bit tired on the road trip, but obviously they're going to focus on the Yankees. I mean, I think this is a big matchup for both teams. These are two of the better teams in the AL. Houston has the way better bullpen. The Yankees have the better offense, although I don't know if the Yankees, I don't know if I would say their offensive edge is that significant. I think Houston's bullpen edge is fairly significant. Yankees' bullpen has really been struggling, and Houston's is one of the top bullpens. Hunter Brown pitching for Houston, I mean, he's been their best pitcher. Debatably, it's between him and Valdez, but I would give it to Brown a little bit based on his numbers. Even though Valdez had that huge run where Houston was winning all the starts of his. 2.47 ERA for Brown, 0.98 whip. A sub-1 whip is always really good, man. Slightly worse on the road, 2.56 road ERA. Really good over his last 2 starts. 1 earned run allowed in each start over 12 innings. 11 strikeouts to 3 walks over that span. Not too bad at all. He was in a little bit of a lull. He hit a snag in the middle of July, but I think maybe it was because the All-Star game was in there. He was named to the All-Star game. He didn't actually pitch in the All-Star game, but I think that might have been a little bit of a distraction for him. He seems to be rounding back into form nicely. 7 innings last time out at Fenway Park and only allowing 1 run, even though his team lost the game because he got no run support. I mean, that was still a really good start from Hunter Brown. Going up against the Yankees here. Yankees are a hard-hitting team, and he does have only mediocre numbers at best against the Yankees in 36 at-bats, 11-7 strikeout walk ratio is not great, 278 average, 868 OPS. Not a good OPS, man. So the Yankees have hit Brown pretty well, but that was also in the past. Brown took a little while to, kind of get his career on track. So when he faced the Yankees before, they weren't facing Brown in the form that he's in right now. So I don't really put that much weight into his numbers against the Yankees right now. I do think he might do better in this start. And we have 2 young, talented pitchers here because the Yankees have Cam Schlittler on the mound, who is a rookie, 4.58 ERA, 1.68 whip. I know those are bad numbers. He's been pretty shaky at home, 5.59 ERA, not good at all. He's only made 4 starts so far, so he's still kind of trying to get on track, man. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start, but he hasn't gone deep into any of the starts, and the Yankees have lost 2 starts in a row of his. But he did pretty much have his best start so far against Miami last time. I don't know, that's not a very intimidating lineup. But he struck out 6, gave up 2 earned runs, 2 home runs. So he limited the damage other than allowing the home runs. He's allowed too many home runs, man. 5 home runs so far this season. 19 1/3 innings pitched, or 2/3, 19 2/3 innings. 21-11 strikeout walk ratio. It's a good strikeout rate, but too many walks. But I think Schlittler is a decent pitcher who will get on track at some point. Houston, I mean, they've been dealing with some injuries in and out of their lineup, so that's a little bit of an issue for Houston's offense. Houston has never faced Schlittler before, so he might have a little bit of an edge in that respect, where Houston is unfamiliar with them. The money's coming in on the Yankees. Some pretty strong market reads on the Yankees, although I don't just blindly follow market reads, but I think when you see something like this, I think it is a pretty strong indicator. Yankees flip from a plus 113 to minus 105, 76% of the cash on them, 51% of the tickets on Houston. So the public, crazy enough, the public is off of the Yankee train right now because of how badly they've been playing recently. And the public is actually more so on Houston. But I think that might actually mean there's a little bit of value on the Yankees. You won't find the Yankees at a cheap price like this very often. So I don't disagree with the Yankees side there, even though they are returning home from a road trip, so I really wouldn't want to touch them. I think the under might be the better way to look in this game because I do like both starters here to potentially do fairly well. Total drop from 8 to 7.5, which is a very low total at the Bronx. I mean, it's a hitter-friendly park. There might be like wind blowing in. There might be some weather conditions where it's not that warm. I know up in Boston, it's not very hot here right now, so it might be somewhat less hot, which is when it's cooler, it's better for the unders. Balls don't go as far. 58% of tickets on the over, 88% of cash on the under. So the money's agreeing with the under. I would worry a little bit about the Yankees bullpen, but at least they are rested. So I would lean to the under slightly in that game. Andrew, what's up, man? Yes, you don't even have to pretend that was the dildo that was thrown yesterday. A's at Baltimore, and this is an ugly one, man. I mean, both of these teams are out of it. They're just playing out the stretch. Baltimore's returning home from going to the Cubs and then Philadelphia, so not huge travel there. It is still technically a return home spot, so sometimes teams do fall into that distracted spot when they come back home, especially a team that's not very good like Baltimore can be distracted a little bit more, and they may not really totally pay attention to this A's team that's not particularly good either, obviously. Although the A's have been making waves with some of their young hitters, obviously. Nick Kurtz, probably Rookie of the Year, so at least they have some hitting that's pretty entertaining and fun to watch. So the A's definitely have the better offense in this matchup. The A's have the worst of the two bullpens. Both bullpens stink. So the A's offensive advantage is probably more significant than their bullpen disadvantage, but their bullpen is very, very bad. The A's were just in Washington, so they're not traveling far at all from Washington to Baltimore, so not much of a travel spot there for them either. JT Ginn is going to be pitching for the A's here. 4.28 ERA, 1.26 whip. Mediocre numbers for him this year. He's been better on the road, though. 2.82 road ERA this year. He was coming out of the bullpen for a while. Now he's been making some starts recently. Made two really good starts against Texas and Houston, which are actually both on the road. So he's been better on the road. Went 11 innings over that span, only allowed one earned run and one walk over those two starts. 6 strikeouts. So he was pretty effective in those starts. Had a bad start last time out at home against Arizona. Didn't make it 5 innings, allowed 4 earned runs, 5 walks. Really bad. But I don't know if that means Ginn is like falling out of form here or if he's just really bad in that home stadium, because it's that A's stadium, man. In Sacramento, it's very, very tough on pitchers. So I think there might be something to him being better on the road here. So we might get a decent start out of him here. And up against, is it Washington? No, it's Baltimore. What am I saying? Excuse me. I get these bad teams all confused, man. Sorry, they're both near D.C. So JT Ginn against Baltimore, they don't really have much of a track record against him at all. Alex Jackson's the only hitter who's faced him before, and he's 0 for 1. So Ginn is pretty much completely unfamiliar to Baltimore, so he might have a little bit of an edge in that respect as well. He has the unfamiliarity edge, whereas Sugano was unfamiliar to the A's the first time they faced him. He pitched at that horrible A's stadium, and he really didn't do well in that start. So that might be something to keep in mind here. Sugano was not good even his first time against the A's, although it was that bad stadium, really hitter-friendly stadium at the A's. But that does mean the A's have seen him now, so they might be a little bit familiar with him now, so he might not do as well. And Sugano has started to struggle later on this season, in his first major league season. 4.42 ERA, 1.32 whip. Slightly worse at home, but nothing really significant. He was starting to pitch a little bit better again, though. He has been over his last few starts. Going back his last 4 starts, he's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all of them. Got at least 5 innings in 3 of the 4. And last time out, he actually his walk numbers dropped his last 2 starts. He's only walked 3 and struck out 13 over his last 2 starts over 11 innings. So that's not too bad. Baltimore actually won 3 of his last 4 starts. So Sugano pitching a little bit better. And last time out was a decent start, actually, on the road against the Cubs, which is a very difficult lineup. So that's a pretty decent sign that maybe Sugano is starting to pitch a little bit better. But he wasn't good. When he faced the A's, he was out of that game pretty quickly, man. The A's, only 4 of their current hitters faced him, 10 at bats. But they had 1 walk, 0 strikeouts, and they had a 400 average, 855 OPS off him. So Sugano didn't do well. I don't think Kurtz played in that game or something like that. I don't know. But Sugano wasn't very good. He went 4 1/3 in that game at the A's, gave up 3 earned runs, was out of the game fairly early in the game, threw a lot of pitches, man. Definitely struggled in that game against the A's. So, Kurtz was not in the lineup back then. So the A's have some different hitters in their lineup now than what they had last time. So some of the guys are unfamiliar with Sugano, but I think Ginn has the upper hand here. I wouldn't want to deal with the A's bullpen, though, so I would lean A's first 5 innings money line if you want to play this one, and the money is agreeing with the A's. Baltimore is down from -125 to -105. 59% of tickets, 88% of the cash coming in on the A's. I don't know if I totally trust Ginn, but again, that is the way that I would lean there. I would lean towards him out-pitching Sugano early in the game, and then just don't want to deal with the A's bullpen, even though I know their hitting is better. So money line first 5 A's would be my recommendation there. Detroit Tigers staying at home, man. They've been playing some somewhat poor baseball recently. They've lost 2 series in a row. One was against Philadelphia, though, who is pretty good. The other was against Minnesota, who's kind of packing it in for the season. So Detroit might be a little bit angry about that and kind of in bounce back mode here. Anaheim probably knows that they're out of it at this point. So Detroit does have a little bit more to play for here because they are playing at least for playoff seeding and whatever. Pretty much assuming we pretty much know they're going to be in the playoffs at this point. Detroit will be. Anaheim coming off a couple of losses too, though, and they're starting a road trip, which does mean that should be a focus spot for Anaheim when you start a road trip. By the way, all these teams I've been talking about here rested yesterday. So A's, Baltimore, Anaheim, Detroit, they all rested their bullpens yesterday. In this game, Detroit obviously has a bullpen edge. I would give them the offensive edge slightly as well, probably as well. But Anaheim's bullpen is really bad. Detroit has the better offense as well. Mediocre offense from Anaheim. And Detroit obviously has a starting pitching edge as well, Skubal. So Detroit has the holy trilogy here, man. But you have to lay a huge price on Detroit. You're not getting it cheap, man. But Detroit does have the edge in all three of the main components of this game here. Although, again, it's maybe a slightly better-ish spot for Anaheim just because they are starting a road trip. But I wouldn't weigh that too heavily here. Kyle Hendricks is pitching for the Angels. Not a great pitcher. 4.59 ERA, 1.24 whip. I mean, those are okay numbers. Definitely been worse on the road. 5.44 road ERA. Giving up more runs on the road. He's coming off a couple of pretty good starts in a row, though. 11 innings pitched, gave him 2 earned runs over those 2 starts. Didn't strike out a lot of guys. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. Last time out was against the White Sox, so not that impressive. It's a bad lineup. Start before that did fairly well against Seattle, which is fairly impressive. So Hendricks has been decent over his last 2 starts. I don't know if he'll do that well in this game, though, against Detroit on the road. Difficult assignment. He's been okay against Detroit, though better than okay, actually. In 26 at-bats, 2 strikeouts, no walks. He's held Detroit to a 231 average and 577 OPS. So Hendricks actually has done fairly well against Detroit, but I don't expect him to outpitch the best pitcher in baseball, Skubal. I mean, if you want to debate that, fine. But that was my answer when somebody asked yesterday who the best pitcher is. I think most people will say Skubal. I mean, Skeens is definitely in the running as well. And, Garrett Crochet, not a horrible answer either. I mean, those 3 guys, I think, are the top of the pack. Skubal, though, really good this year, obviously. 2.18 ERA, 0.83 whip, really low whip. He's been really similar home and away. It doesn't really matter. He's continuing to pitch really well, man. No sense in even really digging into it. I mean, he's just consistently so good. It doesn't even really matter. Like, is he in recent good form? Yeah. Up against, who were we playing against here? I already forget. Not Minnesota. That's who they played last. Anaheim. Yeah, I don't know why. It always slips my mind, man, when I start talking about the home pitcher. He's basically dominated Anaheim in his career. 42 at-bats, 15-2 strikeout walk ratio, 143 average allowed, 396 OPS. So, yeah, Skubal does have the upper hand here, but you're laying a price, although Detroit's down from minus 280 to minus 268. They're public, 78% of tickets. I was going to say, wait a minute, what? So they have gone down on the money line. 78% of tickets, only 51% of the cash, I think is what that was on Detroit. So the money seems to be coming in, fading Detroit a little bit here. Money coming in on the under might actually be the better way to look at this game. Total sitting at 7.5. I know, and it's another very low total. 54% of tickets on the over, 66% of the cash on the under. But again, with the hitting, being maybe cold after having a rest yesterday and the bullpens being rested, unders do make more sense in games like this, although I wouldn't trust Anaheim's bullpen enough to go full game under on this. I don't know if we could fully trust Hendricks either. I could see a first 5-inning under in this game, but again, you'll have to go like pretty low on that. Like, it's probably a 3.5 on that number, and I personally don't really love doing that, but as far as attacking this game, you could do that. You could go Anaheim under their team total. You're going to need Anaheim to score very few runs in that game, but that might be a way to still attack that game, though. Just go with Skubal to continue his domination of Anaheim. Miami, Atlanta, of course, because I've been focusing on those 2 teams quite a bit. I gave out plays on both of those teams' games 2 days ago. Should have given it out yesterday, man, because I was right about Miami first 5 innings yesterday, even though they blew the game yesterday. But we'll get to that. That's going to be one of my bets. Most of my bets are kind of the later games here, though, so we'll see when I get to those. Cleveland at the White Sox. Both of these teams also were off yesterday. The White Sox are returning from the Pacific Coast, which makes it a bad spot for the White Sox. And other than the fact that it is a bad spot, I actually like the White Sox in this game. Other than that, man, Yes, Cleveland does have the better bullpen, though, so there is that, too. So both bullpens are rested after yesterday. Cleveland does have the better bullpen. The offenses are both really bad. Cleveland's is slightly better, but not by a whole lot at all. Chicago, the White Sox, returning home from a road trip, tends to be a tough spot, like I said, especially when you're crossing time zones, multiple time zones like this, returning from the Pacific Coast. Yeah, they had yesterday off to maybe try to get stuff done at home, but it's still a distraction spot when you're back at home. Maybe they'll focus on Cleveland because Cleveland is a division rival, and they're up in second place, and they've been one of the better teams in the division for a while. So maybe some reason for the White Sox to show up here, even though they have nothing left to play for here. Cleveland, I think, technically is still kind of fighting for a playoff spot, which is absurd to think about. Last time out, by the way, that under, I forgot to mention, I gave out the under in their game against the Mets first 5 inning a couple days ago, and that was a winner. The full game under was a winner as well. Williams pitched so well in that game that he had a no-hitter into the 9th inning. I forgot to mention that. So Williams had a really nice start in that game against a pretty decent lineup. Cleveland is coming off that sweep of the Mets, so Cleveland might be in a little bit of a letdown spot, man. Coming off that big series against the Mets. You sweep a good team like the Mets, you're going to be feeling pretty high on yourselves, and they might not pay as much attention to Chicago, but the travel spot is better for Cleveland just going from New York to Chicago here, which is one of the main reasons why I am not going to actually give this out as a play, and Chicago might be in that distraction spot on the return home spot, but I actually think Chicago has the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup, even though on the surface you think, what are you, insane? It's Bybee for Cleveland, who's been like their best pitcher over the last couple seasons, against Savale for the White Sox, who hasn't been good at all. Toad, what are you talking about, man? Well, I'll show you in a minute. Bybee, he hasn't really been as good this year. 4.51 ERA, 1.26 whip, not that good. He's been pretty atrocious on the road, man. 5.5 road ERA, and he's allowed 16 of the 21 home runs he's allowed on the road this year. So he's been really, really ugly on the road, man. And up against the White Sox, well, actually, I'll get to that in a minute. Yes, Cleveland has won his last 5 starts, but he hasn't been very good in these recent starts. He's failed to go 5 innings in 2 of those. He's allowed 4 or more earned runs in 3 of those starts. Last time out, he failed to go 5 innings against a pretty weak Minnesota team with nothing left to play for. Gave up 4 earned runs. It's not really a great sign. Bybee, not really in the greatest form here. And as I was about to say, surprisingly, his numbers against the White Sox are not good, even though they're not a good lineup. 34 at-bats, 294 batting average, and 793 OPS. So Bybee hasn't done well against the White Sox, man. And then you flip it over and look at Savale. His numbers are actually okay this year at this point. 3.99 ERA, 1.26 whip. He's a guy that I believe the White Sox were potentially trading him after they acquired him in the middle of the season from Milwaukee. And then the White Sox were thinking of, I think, dealing him at the trade deadline and didn't get anything done for him. He's been slightly worse at home, but nothing that bad. But his last few starts have actually been quite good. He's allowed no earned runs in his last 3 starts at this point, going at least 5 innings in every single one. He has a 20-3 strikeout walk ratio over that span as well. And one of those starts was against the Cubs, which is a really good lineup. Pittsburgh and Anaheim, I mean, those are not as impressive of performances, but because those offenses aren't as good. But Anaheim's still a mediocre offense, and he held them to 1 hit in 6 1/3 innings, 8 strikeouts in that game, no runs, obviously. So Savale is actually in really good form right now. And up against Cleveland, not a very good offense, and he's done really well against them. In 58 at-bats, they only have 8 hits off him, 14-3 strikeout walk ratio, 138 batting average allowed him, 422 OPS. So this is one of those games that I look at it and I say, yeah, you have kind of a sneaky edge here on the White Sox in this starting pitching matchup. I just don't love playing teams returning home from road trips, man, but I think the best way to play this game is the White Sox money line. They're an underdog at home, too, which when you have a pitching matchup like this and you think you actually have an edge with a starting pitching matchup, and, you know, the offenses aren't really that different from each other, I think there is definitely value taking the White Sox on the money line here as a home underdog. I would do it in the first 5 innings just because, again, I don't really trust the White Sox bullpen very much. Cleveland's is better. 76% of tickets in this game are on Cleveland, but 59% of the cash coming in on the White Sox. So the money's coming in on the White Sox. The line dropped already from -148 to -135 on Cleveland. You probably don't get as big of an underdog price on the White Sox here, but maybe you do because Bybee does get some respect from the books here, and the public is usually going to favor him over Savale, but I would go with Savali in that one, man. First 5-inning White Sox money line would be the way I would play that game. Philadelphia at Texas. Texas coming off a big series against the Yankees where they won 2 out of 3. But this is a big series, too, against Philly. Maybe not as big because it's interleague, but Texas staying at home. You got a team like the Phillies coming in. You'll probably pay attention to that. The Phillies have the way better offense over Texas, so Philly has a big offensive edge. Texas has a pretty big bullpen edge, though. Texas has the better bullpen. This is another spot where both teams rested yesterday. Both teams have rested bullpens. Philly is starting a road trip after facing Baltimore last time out and winning that series. They lost the last game of the series. Maybe, getaway day. Maybe they're just kind of looking ahead a little bit, not paying attention to Baltimore. So Philly should be in a focus spot here as well on the first game of a road trip. You want to get the road trip off on the right foot. 2 pretty decent starting pitchers, decent at worst starting pitchers here. I think the starting pitching edge does have to go to Philadelphia, though, because Christopher Sanchez has been almost elite this year for them, man. He didn't even make the All-Star game. He's flying under the radar. 2.4 ERA, 1.07 whip. I don't think he's really flying under the radar as far as the books are concerned, though. But, man, he's been good. He's been really good both home and away. Very similar numbers. Aside from allowing 4 earned runs in one start at the White Sox, other than that, he's allowed 1 or fewer earned runs in every start going all the way back to mid-June. And the last time he allowed more than 2 earned runs in a start was in late May. So he's been absolutely dominant. Even though some of his starts he's failed to get run support. But Philly has won 4 of his last 6 starts as well. He's been really, really good. He had a 36-5 strikeout walk ratio in July. Starting this month, he went 8 innings, shutout ball against Detroit. That's a pretty good Detroit lineup. Only 5 hits allowed, 6-1 strikeout walk ratio. So Sanchez is obviously in good form here, man. He's pitching really, really well. He's going up against, who do we say? Texas, right? Not a good lineup in Texas. They haven't seen much of him at all. Only 3 of their hitters have ever seen him. They only have 4 at-bats off him. 2 strikeouts, 1 walk, no extra base hits. So he's held him to a 250 average, 650 OPS. So Sanchez, I expect him to continue pitching well here. Merrill Kelly pitching for Texas. He's making his 2nd start as a member of the Rangers after the D-backs traded him at the trade deadline. He's been good this year, 3.22 ERA, 1.04 whip. A little bit worse at home, but most of that was at Chase Field, which is a pitcher-unfriendly ballpark, and now he's pitching in a much more pitcher-friendly ballpark in Texas. He's made 1 start with Texas, which was actually at Seattle, which is also a pitcher-friendly park, and he had 6 strikeouts, no walks, and 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, allowed 4 hits. That was a pretty good start for him to start his remainder of the season with Texas. So that was pretty good, but he's going to have to step up to face the Phillies here, man. This is a very good lineup. Seattle's not a bad lineup either. Philly is better, though. His numbers are not bad against Philly, although they've seen a lot of him because he's been in the National League. 132 at-bats, 30-14 strikeout walk ratios. A bit too many walks for that ratio, but he's held him to a 235 batting average and 732 OPS, so he's held him to decent numbers, decently low numbers there, so I think an under is worth a look in this game, man, even though you would have to deal with Philly's bullpen if you went full game. Under on this, the total has dropped on this game as well from 8 to 7.5 already, all the way to juice to the under on the 7.5. Pretty strong move, strong market indicators on the under. 50% of tickets, 78% of the cash coming in on the under. I do agree with it. You could go full game on it. I mean, both bullpens are rested at least. Philly did at least kind of bolster their bullpen a little bit at the trade deadline, although I still don't trust them. I mean, you could go under in the first 5 innings, but little bit of a concern doing that because, again, the number will be really low on that. The money seems to be indicating on Texas as well as a home underdog here. Professional bettors like looking at home underdogs, man. They see a lot of value in a lot of these home underdogs, thinking that maybe Kelly can battle Sanchez, and then once they get into the bullpens, Texas does have the better bullpen. 74% of tickets, 54% of the cash on Philly, so they're a public road favorite here, especially with Sanchez on the mound. I think maybe professional bettors also thinking you're kind of paying a bit of a price for Philly with Sanchez on the mound at this point because it's not a secret how good he's been this year at this point, even though he flies under the radar compared to some of these other really good pitchers here. But Philly up from -125 to -128, but the money seems to be going against him a little bit. But I think banking on a pitching duel of some kind is the better way to go in that game. I could still see maybe going under with Texas's team total there. You could go under Philly's team total there as well, though, and expect maybe Kelly to pitch well in that game. Philly's team total is going to be higher than Texas's is, so maybe a little bit more leeway if you do it that way. Kansas City, Minnesota, I'm going to give out a play on that one, at least I think. I mean, let me look at the market reads on this. That one, I'm going completely against the market read on that one, so I am a little bit concerned about that one, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm not going against the market read in some of these other games. Let me see. Miami. In Miami's, I'm going against the market read now as well, but that is the way that it is, man. Hopefully, it works out. I think I'm going against it in the Cubs game as well. So maybe we're going to lose today, man, and we'll see. Well, we'll see when we get to it. Next up, we got Mets, Milwaukee. I mean, this is a pretty good matchup here, man. These two of the better teams in the NL. Milwaukee has, I believe, the best record in baseball now. I mean, they're on fire. They've won 6 games in a row now. They're returning home from a road trip, though. So road trip return, again, I reiterate, tends to be a little bit of a distracted spot. You have to return back home. Both these teams did have a day off. Yes, they probably won't lose focus when it's the Mets, and they still know the Mets were the team that eliminated them from the playoffs last year, even though Milwaukee has at least beaten the Mets this year when they faced them during the regular season. Milwaukee, yeah, so it may not be a totally distracted spot for them in the return home spot. The Mets are starting a road trip off an ugly, ugly stretch of games, man. The Mets have been playing some bad baseball recently. They've lost 12 of their last 13 games. Or no, wait, that's not right. What am I doing? 8 of their last 9, my mistake. They had a win streak prior to that. What was I thinking? I was thinking of this other bad stretch that they had. Sorry, they've lost 8 of their last 9 games, my mistake. But that's still bad. They're coming off getting swept by Cleveland, which is really ugly. At home, no less. So I think it's going to be good for the Mets to go out on the road and forget about that. So I do think it is definitely a focus spot for the Mets here. They're going to want this game, going out on the road against the team that has the best record in baseball, coming off some ugly losses. So I think the spot sets up a little bit better for the Mets. But Milwaukee has the better bullpen. I would give Milwaukee the offensive edge a little bit as well, even though they aren't quite as good offensively at home. I think it's slight in both cases, but I think Milwaukee has a slight bullpen edge and a slight hitting edge here. And I actually think Milwaukee has the starting pitching edge here. Kodai Senga is pitching for the Mets. He's having a good season, 2.31 ERA, 1.25 whip. The whip is a little bit higher than I would like to see, though, man. I'll get into that in a second. He's been slightly better on the road, but nothing significant. But he was injured for a bit. And since he's come back, yeah, I know. He came back in mid-July, and the Mets have won all 4 of his starts since then. The Mets have actually won 8 straight starts of his, I believe. So the Mets have been winning most of his starts. He hasn't allowed more than 4 earned runs in any start all year, but those 4 earned run performances both happened after he came back from injury. So that's a little bit of a concern because that's half of his starts. He's failed to go 5 innings in 3 out of the 4 starts, so he's not going deep in these games, which I think they're keeping his pitch count a little bit limited here, but his strikeout walk ratio is also abysmal over that stretch, 16-13 strikeout walk ratio. So that's the real problem I have with him and why his whip is so high. He's walking way too many guys, and that's kind of been the case all season. His strikeout walk ratio is really unimpressive, actually, and he's walked an unbelievable amount of guys this year, 44 and 89 and 2/3. He gets away with it because he doesn't allow hits, 68 hits. He's like relatively unhittable, but still, the walks are a huge concern, man. You can't keep walking guys like this. Since he's come back from the injury, his last 3 starts, 3 out of the 4 starts, and each of his last 3, he's walked 3 or more in all of them. So that's not a good sign either, man. And up against the Brewers, they haven't seen much of him. Only 3 of their hitters have seen him before, but in 8 at-bats, they have a 375 average and 875 OPS off him. 2 strikeouts, no walks, but still, I think Woodruff is the much more trustworthy of these 2 pitchers here, man. Woodruff, people kind of forgot about him. He was really good in the past, and then he missed over an entire season with an injury, and he's been like right back in form basically right away. He's been excellent since he's come back. 2.22 ERA, 0.64 whip. I mean, it's like he never even was gone. He's been a little bit worse at home, though, 3.48 ERA, which is still good. He hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any outing so far since he's come back. He's made 5 starts. Now, Milwaukee has won every single one of them. He's gone 6 innings in 4 out of the 5. 29-3 strikeout walk ratio in the previous month, 8-1 in his last start. So overall, 37-4 strikeout walk ratio, and only 14 hits allowed in 28 and a third innings pitched. He's dominating right now, man. He's doing really well. And against the Mets, his numbers are mediocre. They're better than, I would say they're better than Senga's, although it is a bigger sample size. So maybe something that you could take a little bit more away from. And 46 at bats, 9-4 strikeout walk ratio is not that great. 283 average, 731 OPS allowed. So the Mets have hit okay against him, but not great. But I would still trust Woodruff more, man. I mean, he's been pitching so well. He's in really, really excellent form here. Milwaukee up from -128 to -137 here. 82% of tickets, 88% of the cash coming into Milwaukee. So the money is agreeing with that coming into Milwaukee. Wouldn't disagree with it, obviously. I would lean to Milwaukee. I think they have the edge, actually, even though it's slight. I think they have the edge in every single aspect of the game, but slightly. But I don't love playing teams returning home from road trips. 66% of tickets, 60% of the cash on the over. So the money is actually seemingly coming in on the under as well. Expecting both starting pitchers to do fairly well here. We have decent bullpens there. So I wouldn't really disagree with the under either. Skipping Chicago, St. Louis for now. My Red Sox at San Diego. San Diego's returning home, but only from a trip to Arizona. So not really a huge road trip return. These two teams were off yesterday as well. The Red Sox lost their long win streak, man. They had 7 wins in a row and then lost to the Royals. Ugly, ugly, man. Dustin May, not looking like a good trade, man. These guys that the Red Sox got from the Dodgers, or former Dodger players, I should say, because they picked up Walker Buehler as a free agent, I believe. But those acquisitions I don't think are good for the Red Sox, man. And they're pitching in these back-to-back games because Buehler is pitching today, so isn't that just great? But the Red Sox, yes, they're starting a road trip, so they should be focused. You tend to be focused when you start a road trip, but they're going to have to adjust to the Pacific time zone and playing a late-night game, which is not that easy to do. And when you have a long win streak snapped like that, sometimes it does hang you over. So I really don't like the Red Sox very much in this game. San Diego has the bullpen edge. Both teams have good bullpens, and they're both rested, but San Diego has the better bullpen. Red Sox have the better offense, but still, I think pitching matters more. You got to give the starting pitching edge to the Padres as well here. I mean, Walker Buehler, Red Sox, I mean, like I said, I mean, he's not good. He has never come back from his injury and surgeries that he's had over the last, recent years. 5.74 ERA, 1.6 whip this year. Not good numbers. He's been really bad on the road. 7.44 ERA on the road. Struggled again last time out against Houston. He's failed to go 5 innings in his last 2 starts, even though the Red Sox won both of them. And they've actually won 4 of his last 5 outings. He pitched okay in some of those outings, but starting to really struggle again. Those last 2 outings were bad. He had 8 walks and only 4 strikeouts over those last 2 outings, too, and allowed 6 earned runs and 13 hits in those 9 innings pitched. That is bad, man. Really bad. Against decent lineups, or good lineups even, in the Dodgers and Houston. But still, he's in bad form right now. I don't trust him. Up against San Diego, he's actually been fairly good, although San Diego does have a lot of experience off of him because he was in their division on the Dodgers. 135 at bats, 29-7 strikeout walk ratio, 259 batting average allowed, and 718 OPS. So Buehler does have okay numbers against San Diego in a huge sample size, but I still don't trust him. And some of that was back when he was a better pitcher, too, so you got to keep that in mind, that Walker Buehler's recent form, I think, does matter more than some of his historical numbers because he's just a completely different pitcher. He's way worse. Nick Pivetta, former Red Sox pitcher, is pitching for the Padres. Really good season, 2.73 ERA, 0.94 whip. He's been excellent at home, 1.99 ERA at home. He's allowed no more than 2 earned runs in any start going all the way back to late June. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs only once since late June as well, actually. So he's pitching really, really well here. Padres have won 5 of his last 7 starts. I think is what that is. 4 of his last, no, yeah, it's 5 of his last 7. Probably should have won more because he hasn't been bad in any of those starts. Going at least 6 innings in all but one of them, too. He's dominating. 30-8 strikeout walk ratio over in July, I should say, and then 35-8 if you include his most recent start, which was a 1-hit performance against St. Louis early in August. 7-inning performance, really, really good stuff. Against the Red Sox, only 2 hitters have seen him before, Bregman and Story, but they have 12 at-bats, and they have hit him. 417 batting average. Bregman has homered off him once. They each have a triple off him. 417 average and 1,500 OPS. So Pivetta hasn't been good against those 2 Red Sox hitters, but the rest of the Red Sox hitters have never even seen him before. I know the money in this game is coming in on the Red Sox, but I find it hard to really agree with that because I think San Diego has the pitching edge across the board here. There's no way I would have my money on Walker Buehler. San Diego down from -165 to -160, though. 56% of tickets on them. 69% of the cash coming in on the Red Sox. Of course, some of that is about the price and maybe thinking that it's too much of a price to lay on San Diego, but I don't want any part of it, man. But that is what the money is saying, that money's coming in on the Red Sox side, and that seems to be the big market indicator in that game. Colorado at Arizona. Arizona staying at home, coming off a couple of losses to San Diego. They had 3 wins in a row, but since the trade deadline, they lost all their other games. So Arizona seems like a team not really totally focused, like just playing out the stretch. I don't think Colorado's really a team that's going to draw their focus either. Coming off of that big San Diego series for Arizona there. Colorado is coming off an unbelievably embarrassing series against Toronto, where Toronto scored 45 runs on 63 hits against them. And the Rockies themselves only scored 6 runs in that entire series. That's unbelievably embarrassing. So going out on the road, facing a division foe, I actually think that might focus the Rockies a little bit here. So situationally, it seems like it might not be a bad spot to maybe consider grabbing the Rockies as like a run line underdog, because they're going to be a huge underdog. Zach, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Haven't talked about the Kansas City game yet, because I'm actually going to have a play on that game. Colorado, Arizona, anyway, yeah. Gomber's pitching for Colorado. I mean, he's at least not their worst starter. 6.18 ERA, 1.6 whip. He's been better on the road. 4.91 ERA on the road. He hasn't pitched that much yet this year because he was injured to start this season, so he came back not that long ago. And he's only won, the Rockies have only won 2 of his starts, although one of them was his first start and one of them was his most recent start. Yes, it was against a bad Pittsburgh lineup. Arizona is certainly a step up in class offensively. They're still obviously the way better hitting team over the Rockies here. Arizona has a bad bullpen, although so does Colorado, so the bullpens are kind of a wash. Although maybe Arizona's is actually slightly better. Gomber, that last start wasn't too bad, though. At home, even, against Pittsburgh. 5-1 strikeout walk ratio, because Coors Field, it's tough for some pitchers to pitch there. 5-1 strikeout walk ratio in that game wasn't that bad. 3 earned runs allowed. Not that bad either. Up against Arizona, though. Arizona's a decent hitting team, man. Hasn't done well against them in 108 at-bats. 14-3 strikeout walk ratio is good, but he's allowed 8 home runs to them. 3 of them are Marte, who's 10 for 26 off him, so could consider looking for some player props there with him, or Corbin Carroll, 6 for 13 off him with a couple of home runs. Gurriel, also 5 for 17 with a home run. So even though Arizona traded some guys at the trade deadline, and their offense did get weakened a little bit, they still have good hitters on this team. Gomber does have a 14-3 strikeout walk ratio against them, but a 296 average allowed, 899 OPS. So overall, he does not do well against Arizona. Zach Gallen pitching for Arizona, having a pretty ugly season, man. Worse than what he's done in the past by far. 5.48 ERA, 1.36 whip. He just can't seem to get it together. He's been bad at home, 5.98 ERA at home. Pitched well last time out against the A's in that tough A's stadium. Went 6 innings, allowing 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. Wasn't very impressive, but no walks. Did allow 9 hits, so he got hit a little bit hard in that game. His strikeout walk ratio has actually been pretty good. It was 33-5 in July, but he allowed a lot of runs. 5.1 ERA. Although it seems to me like he's getting a little bit unlucky, man, because he wasn't allowing that many hits. And he wasn't, obviously, like I said, he wasn't walking a lot of guys. So what was he doing? I don't know, man. I think he was getting a little bit unlucky to some extent here. He's facing this weak Colorado offense, but Colorado actually has good numbers against him in 75 at-bats, 14-3 strikeout walk ratio. Both starting pitchers, I think, have that same ratio there, but he's allowed 7 home runs in a pretty small... it's a small sample size for having allowed 7 home runs. Let's just put it that way. 7 home runs in 75 at-bats is a lot of home runs. So some of these hitters on the Rockies hit Gallen pretty well. Moniak, 4 for 9 with 2 home runs off him. He's allowed a 307 average and 1,000 OPS against the Rockies. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy, man. Both starting pitchers look like they get kind of beat up here, man, against these offenses. So, slightly into Colorado if you want to like play on the situation there, but maybe first 5 inning. Well, I don't know, man, because they're going to be an embarrassed team, so they might come out and just play. Maybe you do it full game. Taking the run line price. Arizona's up from -215 to -229, though. 80% of tickets, 92% of the cash coming in Arizona. I wouldn't want to lay a price like that with Arizona. I mean, you're always getting charged to play any Rockies opponent, really, at this point. But I think maybe the better way to go with this game is the over. 98% of tickets, 99% of the cash coming in on the over. The total's at 9. I don't mind the over in that one, man. Both bullpens suck, even though I know they're rested. Both starting pitchers have bad matchup numbers, and they're both pretty untrustworthy, so an over makes sense. Tampa-Seattle is going to be the last play I actually give out, so I'll do that in a second. Toronto at the Dodgers. Dodgers are staying at home off a kind of an ugly series against St. Louis, so I think the Dodgers probably have a little bit of a situational edge here, even though, yeah, obviously if you're playing the Dodgers, you're going to be focused on them, but Toronto's coming off that ridiculous series that I just mentioned with 45 runs on 63 hits, absolutely smoking Colorado. I mean, when you do that, you got to be feeling really high on yourselves, even if it was against a historically bad Rocky team. So Toronto might be in a little bit of a letdown spot. They're having to travel out from elevation now out to the Pacific Coast, so the travel disadvantage is kind of there for Toronto as well. Toronto has the better bullpen. The Dodgers have the better hitting in this game. Starting pitching matchup looks like we've traveled back in time here, man, to several years ago or more, because this is Max Scherzer against Clayton Kershaw. This is crazy, man. So we have two guys that are past their prime here, that were elite in their prime. Scherzer for Toronto is starting to pitch pretty well recently. He's got a 4.39 ERA, but a pretty good 1.05 whip. So he's pitching a little bit better than his ERA would suggest. He's only been slightly worse on the road. His last 2 starts have been excellent, with 16 strikeouts and no walks in 13 innings, only allowing 8 hits, 4 earned runs total. The home run ball's been a bit of an issue for him so far, but his command has pretty much been there. He hasn't allowed that many hits either. He's obviously, like I said, he's not walking a lot of guys. He's got a decent strikeout rate, so Scherzer is still pitching pretty effectively. I think his numbers overall, like his peripherals and whatever, are actually better than Kershaw's, even though this year, even though he's a little bit older. Kershaw trying to come back from injury. Scherzer, good numbers against the Dodgers in his career, too. A huge 171 at-bat sample size, though. 54-26 strikeout walk ratio. A little bit iffy. The 9 home runs are a little bit iffy, although 7 of them are Conforto and Freeman. And Freeman doesn't have a good batting average against him, only 11 for 53. Conforto does hit him well, though. 12 for 39, 5 walks in there as well. Freeman has 8 of the walks. So those two guys do most of the damage to Scherzer. He's held him to a 222 average. 758 OPS is a little bit high. And yes, I know most of these numbers were in the past when Scherzer was better than he is now, so you got to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt there. But Scherzer in good recent form. I do actually think he might pitch okay in this game. Kershaw pitching for the Dodgers. His numbers are decent this year. 3.29 ERA, 1.25 whip. He's been worse at home, though. 4.35 ERA at home. Coming off a good start where he shut out Tampa Bay for 6 innings. Only struck out 3, so his strikeout rate really isn't there, man. Scherzer's strikeout rate is there. Kershaw's is not. So you can tell Kershaw, like, he's actually in the worse form right now than Scherzer is, man. I think you can kind of tell Kershaw's injury has kind of affected him, because he's only struck out 42 and 65 2/3 this season. 18 walks. Wouldn't be that bad, but the strikeout rate is just way down for Kershaw. He failed to go 5 innings in his prior 2 starts prior to that Tampa one against pretty good lineups in Milwaukee and Boston, and he was coming off pitching in the All-Star game. But still, I mean, he's definitely in the lesser form right now than Scherzer is, man. So I do think Scherzer has the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup. Kershaw against Toronto, you know, he obviously has good numbers because he's been good throughout his career. 43 at-bats, 15-4 strikeout walk ratio, 186 average, allowed him 581 OPS. So Kershaw is the more unfamiliar of the two pitchers to these hitters to some extent, but he is in the worst form, man. So again, a lot of those stats that we're looking at, the historical stats, most of them were before these two pitchers were in the form that they are right now. So I think recent form does matter more here. So I would lean to Toronto earlier in this game just because I think Scherzer does have the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup, and the money is agreeing with that, even though I think, Toronto potentially could be in a letdown spot off of what they just did to Colorado, but still, they'll focus on the Dodgers. Dodgers down from minus 152 to minus 130. 58% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on Toronto, so a pretty strong read in the market on Toronto on the side there. I would limit it. Actually, you know what? I would not limit it to first 5 innings. What am I saying? I would go full game on that because Toronto has the better bullpen too. So I think Toronto does have a pitching edge throughout this game. So yeah, I would agree with that. Full game on Toronto as an underdog there. You're always paying a price for the Dodgers. Although the Toronto's been a pretty good team too, and they do have a guy that has a lot of name recognition on the mound for them too. Money also coming in a little bit on the under. Down from 9 to 9, juice to the under, 74% of tickets, 70 on the over, 75% of the cash on the under, though. So some somewhat strong indicators on the under as well. If you went under, I would go first 5 innings, and you're starting to lose the key number 9 on the full game, too. First 5 innings, if you can get it under 4, 4.5, maybe both pitchers will do well in this game, so that might be the lean in that game. Washington at San Francisco. Both teams are traveling out to the Pacific Coast here. San Francisco was in New York and then Pittsburgh, and now they're returning home. San Francisco won both those series, so they actually started playing a little bit better again here, but they're returning home from a road trip, playing a bad team like Washington that's not really going to draw your focus. San Francisco in a little bit of a bad spot for that reason. But Washington is traveling cross-country, and they're going to have to adjust to the time zone difference. So that's a little bit of an issue for them, too, even though it is the first game of a road trip, and you usually are focused to start a road trip. The travel spot's not great for either team, but San Francisco might have that added distraction of the return home spot. Washington playing bad baseball, though, recently. Really bad baseball. They've lost 7 of their last 8 games or whatever. They got 1 win in that recent series against the A's. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to really say about that. San Francisco obviously has the way better bullpen. This is basically the best bullpen, one of the best bullpens in baseball against one of the worst. Not the best against the worst anymore, but a top 3 bullpen against a bottom 3 bullpen. San Francisco has a big bullpen edge here. I actually think San Francisco, their offense, even though they stink, they're actually not that much worse than Washington. So Washington, I'd probably only give a slight offensive edge in this game as well. Starting pitching is tough to gauge, man, because I don't like either of these guys. Jake Irvin pitching for Washington, 4.89 ERA, 1.33 whip, not that good. 5.06 road ERA, not good. He's been bad on the road. His last start wasn't good against Milwaukee. 5 earned runs allowed in 4 innings, 2 walks, 8 hits, 2 strikeouts. That's not going to cut it. He had a good start against Minnesota the start before that, but struggled against Cincinnati the start before that. Kind of struggled in most of the recent starts prior to that, so he's walking a lot of guys. He's not really in good form, man. 17 to 13 strikeout walk ratio since the start of July. I don't really trust Irvin here. Up against San Francisco, who's not a very good lineup. He's been mediocre against them in 50 at-bats. 14 to 2 strikeout walk ratio is good. 260 batting average and 728 OPS, though. So, mediocre numbers, again, against San Francisco. Not horrible, but not great either. Kai-Wei Tang is the listed starter for San Francisco, who is a converted reliever. He's made 1 start so far, I believe. He's made only 1 appearance this year so far. He hadn't appeared since last year, where he appeared in all bullpen appearances last year. He's a young pitcher, and San Francisco does see something in this guy. I think he has like kind of a diverse pitching arsenal, but it has not worked out so far. His only appearance this year, a start against the Mets, was bad. He went 3 1/3, allowed 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. I don't expect him to go deep into this game. I expect him to probably be out of this game by around the 4th inning again in this one, because I just don't even know if he's a guy that goes deep into games or not. At this point, I have no idea. Washington, only 2 of their hitters have ever seen him before, and they're 0 for 3, Garcia and Young, with no other stats at all. But even so, I don't think we could really trust Tang here either. So, I mean, to me, even though I know these are fairly weak offenses, to me, I don't like these pitchers at all. So I'm thinking an over could make sense here. And you have 1 really bad bullpen out of the 2 as well. The San Francisco's bullpen could hurt your over a little bit. What is the money saying on this? Oh, it looks like San Francisco's undecided now. So I don't even know what I would want to do in this game. It looks like it might not be Tang now. So it's probably going to be a bullpen game for San Francisco, but at least their bullpen is rested, because, again, all these games that I just talked about, for the most part, these teams didn't play yesterday, except, actually, my mistake. I got to pay attention to this. Seattle played yesterday. Actually, crap. That's going to affect my my handicap on the Seattle-Tampa Bay game, isn't it? So hold on a second. So we're going to have to figure that out. In this game, we actually need to look at the bullpen usage. Washington pitched yesterday. They actually used 4 relief pitchers yesterday, so their bullpen definitely at a disadvantage here. San Francisco didn't play yesterday, so there's a rest edge on the side of San Francisco here too, so that makes it a little bit more extreme. So yeah, I would not want to look to the Washington side, even though, again, San Francisco is returning home from a road trip. San Francisco has the rest edge. Tampa Bay has the rest edge over Seattle, which I'll talk about in a minute, because Seattle also did play yesterday. The White Sox played yesterday, and Cleveland did not, so that's another issue if you want to. Like I said, I lean to the White Sox first 5 innings, but they played yesterday, and Cleveland did not, so that's another disadvantage for the White Sox there. And then the other team that played yesterday is the A's. So I'm sorry, man. I can't believe I forgot to point that out. So the A's actually have a rest disadvantage against Baltimore as well. I mentioned that I kind of lean to the A's first 5 innings, but that is another good reason to maybe stay off of that, because Baltimore does at least have a rest edge there. All right, let's get into my plays here. The first one up is Miami in the first 5 innings against the Braves. I know the Braves came to play yesterday, and they actually overcame an early deficit in that game. And I was right about Miami first 5 yesterday, and this game kind of looks similar to me in this one. Oh, sorry, actually, I forgot. Best bets. I apologize. Anyway, Miami, they did get their first 5 yesterday, which is a lean I gave out on the show yesterday, and then surprisingly, Miami blew it late, because I actually like Miami's bullpen a little bit better than Atlanta's at this point, probably. Although Atlanta used fewer relievers yesterday, so Miami used more of their relievers, so that is part of the reason why I'm going to leave the bullpens out of the equation here. Actually, Atlanta does have the better bullpen at this point, although their bullpen ERA is really high, though, so if you look at ERA, it looks like, well, Miami kind of has the better bullpen out of the two. But if you look at WHIP, Miami is the worst of the 2 bullpens, so it's kind of hard to gauge. I think WHIP maybe is a better gauge, actually, so I kind of take that back. That's why I'm going first 5 innings here. Miami has the less rested bullpen and the slightly worse bullpen, so I'll take them out of the equation. I actually think at this point Miami has the better offense over Atlanta, but this is really all about the starting pitching matchup here, man. I think this is a starting pitching mismatch here. And again, Atlanta, they've been playing like a team that knows that they're out of it, man. I mean, I know they won yesterday. They've won some games in there, but they're playing some pretty poor baseball here, man. So I don't really trust them. Miami, I know Miami's record, they're worse than their record looks, and I know Atlanta's not as bad as their record looks, but this late in the season, you got to look at motivation. Atlanta really doesn't have any left. They look like a very unmotivated team for the most part, even though they did come back and win yesterday. I don't know if Miami's going to be, kind of like, if Miami's mental situation coming into this game after blowing the game yesterday, if they're going to be like unfocused or anything like that. I don't think that will happen, because Miami was actually favored in the game yesterday. So it's not like they almost pulled off some major upset or anything like that. It's just crazy that Miami is the team that's playing the better baseball this year over Atlanta. They have like a double-digit lead, I think, in the record-wise over Atlanta in the division, which is just insane. But in this spot, yeah, I like the starting pitching matchup from Miami here, man. Edward Cabrera, he's pitching well. 3.24 ERA, 1.19 WHIP. He's not as good as Yuri Perez, but he's pitching well. They both strike out a lot of guys. He's been a little bit worse on the road, but 3.89 ERA is still not that bad. And it's a smaller sample size on the road. Last few starts, he's actually been quite good. His strikeout rate's been really high. Month of July, 27-4 strikeout walk ratio. And if you add in his most recent start against the Yankees, of all teams, his strikeout walk ratio over the last 6 starts is 34-5. So he's been striking out a lot of guys, not walking a lot of guys. His command is really good right now. He's allowed 1 earned run apiece in 3 straight starts, including that one against the Yankees where he 2-hit them. So he's pitching well, and he's doing it against some decent teams in the mix there too. So Cabrera is definitely pitching well. He did have 1 bad start against Baltimore in the mix there, but all the other starts he allowed 2 or fewer earned runs going all the way back to mid-May, and he's allowed more than 4 earned runs. He didn't allow more than 4. He didn't allow more than 3 earned runs in any other start going all the way back to April 28th. So he's having a really good season overall, and against Atlanta, he's pretty much held them down in 34 at-bats, 13-5 strikeout walk ratio, 235 average allowed, 745 OPS, which is getting a little bit high, but it's still not that high. Murphy does have a home run off him, but that's his only hit off him. And Acuna is hurt again, I believe, so that weakens Atlanta's offense a bit there. He's not listed in that sheet there, which I believe means he's not active. Bryce Elder is pitching for Atlanta. This guy, he's been awful, dude. 6.03 ERA, 1.56. And I know we said Cabrera's kind of in the worst of his splits, but look at Bryce Elder. He has a 6.54 home ERA, so he's also in the worst of his splits, and he's worse overall. He's been miserable pretty much the entire season. Over the past month plus, he's had a 21-13 strikeout walk ratio going back to the beginning of July, which is not good. Yes, he pitched better last time out against Cincinnati, surprisingly, holding them to 2 earned runs in 6 2/3, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. I'm not ready to say that he's bouncing back or anything or coming back into form because he did have a similar decent start at the A's stadium. So it's like he's pitching well in these hitter-friendly ballparks for whatever reason. But then he's and those are on the road too. And then he's coming back home and he's blowing. He was bad against Anaheim, against San Francisco. These recent home starts, he's been bad. He had one really bad road start against Texas in the mix there too. He's just not pitching well, man. I mean, there's nothing else to really say about it. He's allowing a lot of runs, a lot of base runners. His numbers against Miami are bad too, and 23 at-bats. I know it's not a big sample size. 391 average, 938 OPS. So we're going to fade Elder here. Cabrera is the way better of the two pitchers. I just look at this starting pitching matchup, and I'm like, you got to go with Miami here. The money was coming in on Miami early. They're up from -102 to -126 now, but 84% of tickets, only 77% of the cash. It looks like it's another situation where the professional money is coming in on Atlanta, just again, I think saying, well, the records are misleading here. Miami's not as good as their record looks, and Atlanta's not as bad as their record looks. And yes, I understand all that. And I guess that's why the professionals are coming back and taking Atlanta at the bigger underdog price. But again, I don't agree with it. And I'm limiting it to just the first 5 innings here. And I'm going run line on it because the favorite price was a little bit too high. Like I saw it at -135 on the money line. I mean, if you want to do that, that's okay too. If you want to go Miami first 5 money line -135, you can do that. And then if they wind up in a tied game after 5, your bet will push. We need Miami to be winning after 5, but I'm still going to go with it. -0.5 run, you can get it at a cheaper price at +105. So that's play number 1 here. Let's try to get through this because I'm still going to talk NFL preseason, but I'm going to make that quick. Next up is going to be a total. I have 2 totals and 2 sides here. Kansas City, here you go, Zach. Royals, Twins under the total, and the market is completely disagreeing with me on this. It's up from 7.5 to 8, like significantly juiced to the over. So I think you might be able to get under 9 on this, man. At that point, yeah, I think we're going to go under here, man. 50% of tickets are on the under, but 73% of the cash on the over. I don't understand this, man, because you have 2 pretty weak offenses for the most part. Minnesota's is better than Kansas City's. Kansas City is a very bad offense. Minnesota's is mediocre, but remember, they did sell off a little bit at the trade deadline. Yes, I know Minnesota sold some of their bullpen off as well. Their bullpen is bad. Kansas City's bullpen is decent. But still, we have rested bullpens, so that's part of this handicap. Not great offenses, rested bullpens, because neither team played yesterday. Minnesota's kind of in a little bit of a letdown spot because they did just beat Detroit a couple of times. And they're returning home from a road trip, which that can affect the offensive timing as well, man. When you come home, somewhat of a distracted spot, even though I know it's Kansas City who's ahead of them in the division, so they might want to try to spoil Kansas City's season. But even so, it is still a return home spot for kind of a deflated Minnesota team. So I think that their hitting might be a little bit distracted and affected by that. Kansas City is in the better spot for that reason. They're traveling in from Boston, but they're kind of on this long road trip, man, so the hitting might be a little bit weakened for that reason too, right? Because they can get a little bit tired out throughout this road trip, so that's part of the handicap as well. I would agree with the Kansas City side slightly as well. We see 77% of tickets, 79% of the cash taking Kansas City. They do have the better bullpen. I know Minnesota has the better offense, but Kansas City has the better bullpen. Minnesota, I think, does have the better starter, though. Minnesota down from -130 to -129 here. Zach, yeah, that's right. So I do agree with Kansas City on the side slightly, but I prefer the under here, man. If you can get under 9, I know I'm going against the market read here, but that's all the better, man, because I really just don't see it as far as like why you would be playing an over in this game. Maybe wind is blowing out. I guess we should look at the weather real quick here. Again, I'm not actually going to bet these because I am trying to conserve my money right now and be less risky, as I pointed out. But I am handicapping these as if I was going to bet them. Let's look at the... it's going to be 90 degrees, so I know that does mean... And the wind is blowing side to side, right to left, so I don't know if that really helps the hitting that much in Minnesota. I'm not really sure about that. It's going to be hot, which I know that does... when it's hot, it is more conducive to an over, but the wind is not blowing out. And the starting pitching, we have two pretty good pitchers on the mound here, man. Seth Lugo, again, I know the analytics guys don't like him. 3.06 ERA, 1.15 whip. The advanced analytics guys don't like him. Yeah, he's slightly worse on the road, but still 3.47 ERA is good. Yeah, I know he's been shaky over his last couple of starts, although Kansas City's won 5 of his last 6 starts, 6 of his last 7, actually. So he's holding them in games. He's only allowed more than 3 earned runs once over that span, going all the way back to the end of May. So he's holding opposing offenses in check, man. He struggled with wildness a little bit over the last couple of starts, walking 8 and only striking out 8. So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried that his form isn't the best right now. One was against the Braves. One was against Toronto on the road. Toronto, pretty difficult lineup to be facing there. And he didn't make it 5 innings in that start, but overall, Lugo has still been pretty good, man. I mean, his strikeout walk ratio on the season is still pretty good. He just normally doesn't walk a lot of guys, normally doesn't allow a lot of hits. So I'm not ready to say that he's like so out of form that we're going to completely lose him here. Against Minnesota in 37 at-bats, 13-5 strikeout walk ratio is okay. 243 average is good. 793 OPS is a little bit high, but it's because 2 home runs from Vasquez are in there, man. If you take Vasquez out, I mean, it's pretty easy to pitch around one hitter. Without him in there, Lugo does have really good numbers against Minnesota. So I think Lugo should do fine here. Joe Ryan, I mean, he's been really good all year. 2.83 ERA, 0.93 whip. He's pitching really well. He is slightly worse at home, but still a 3.13 ERA is not something where I'm going to say, oh, he's terrible at home. He struggled a little bit kind of around the All-Star game. He had one bad start, couple of starts after he pitched in the All-Star game. He struggled against Washington for whatever reason, but he pretty much bounced right back. And I was a little bit worried because I'm like, well, what's Ryan's mental state going to be? I still went with the under in his last start against Cleveland. It was a winner, so he did get the win on that one. But he pitched well because I was worried. I'm like, well, is he going to just be unfocused for the rest of the season because they're not going anywhere because he didn't get traded to a contender? Or is he going to, because that distraction isn't there anymore, now he knows he's going to be on Minnesota for the rest of the year. He can just focus on pitching for them and, pitching for the remainder of the season. And I think it's the latter because he pitched well in that game against Cleveland. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. Overall, he's been really, really good for the most part. So, I mean, aside from that 4 earned run performance against Washington, you have to go all the way back to April to find any other start where he allowed more than 3 earned runs. So Ryan is pitching well. He's going up against Kansas City here. Again, a weak Kansas City offense. And he's pretty much held them down. They've seen a lot of him, 116 at-bats, so they are familiar with him, and that still hasn't helped them. 24-5 strikeout walk ratio, 172 batting average, 500 OPS against Kansas City. So I do give Ryan the edge in the starting pitching matchup. I think full game starts to tilt towards Kansas City a little bit because of the situation and their bullpen edge. But again, I'm going under in this game, man. I think both starting pitchers do have the upper hand here. The bullpens are at least rested. If you wanted to go first 5 under and just focus on the starting pitching matchup, I think you could do that as well. But that's going to be an under, and we might be able to get it under 9, man. So I'll update that. If I can find it under 9 right now, I'll update that. Next up, it takes a while. I mean, I hate the fact that I have 4 plays. I'm going to have to put them all out on Instagram. Fuck, man. It's like a job, and I don't get paid for it, so isn't that awesome? I should just bet against that I at least do get paid for it. Or find some way to monetize all of this. Get me up to 500 subscribers, man. Cubs, I'm going to make a play on the Cubs here, man. Run line, -1.5 at +115. I think the money line's kind of gotten away from us. You got to lay like -150, -160 on the Cubs, but I just think they have too much of an advantage here, man. And the market's disagreeing, though. 72% of tickets, only 71% of the cash. The Cubs are down from -150 to -148. I mean, if you do want to play the money line, you can go ahead and do that. The money's coming into the under in this game as well. 54% of tickets, 81% of the cash on the under. But I'm focusing on the side here, man, because I think the Cubs have just an edge across the board here. I believe they have a situational edge, a starting pitching edge, a bullpen edge, the better bullpen here, and they have the better offense too. So it's like, it just seems like you got to do it. You got to play the Cubs here. Even though I know St. Louis, it's a big series for them because Obviously, they're going to be focused on the Cubs who are ahead of them, but the Cubs need to show up too because they're in a battle here right now. They need to catch back up to Milwaukee and whatever. So I think this is a big matchup, man. St. Louis is returning home for beating the Dodgers. So they're returning over the Pacific Coast, which again, shifting time zones, it can be a distracted spot. You have to get back home. So it's the dreaded return home spot for St. Louis. They're coming off beating the Dodgers, so it could be a little bit of a letdown spot. And they have to try to, with all those distractions coming in, they have to try to maintain that amount of effort this whole time coming into this game against the Cubs. So that doesn't look good to me either. The Cubs are starting a road trip and just going to St. Louis from Chicago. So the Cubs have a much easier travel spot, very short travel. And they just broke a loss streak with a win over the Cincinnati Reds, and not a very good series for the Cubs against the Reds. So I think they're in a better spot, but they're certainly going to be focused here after playing some pretty bad baseball fairly recently. So I think the Cubs have the edge in the situation here. Again, they have the better bullpen. They have the better hitting. And I like the starting pitching matchup a lot here. Matthew Boyd has been dominant for the Cubs. And I know you have to pay a price for the Cubs here because it is Boyd, but 2.34 ERA, 1.03 whip on the season. Yeah, he's a little bit worse on the road, 2.97 ERA, but that's still really good. He's been almost completely dominant recently. Aside from one bad start at Milwaukee, that is a very good hitting team, which I was surprised by that. I got caught with an under in that game, which didn't work out for me, so that was unfortunate. Aside from that start, the other 4 of his last 5 starts were all shutouts. He allowed no earned runs in any of them. And he had a 17, I'm trying to do the math here real quick. He had a 29-3 strikeout walk, or 29-2 strikeout walk ratio over that span. It's just crazy, man. He's been completely dominant. Other than that one bad start against Milwaukee, he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs going all the way back to May. So, yeah, he's completely dominating. He faced St. Louis recently twice and completely dominated them. He shut them out twice in late June and in early July. He completely dominated them for a combined 11 innings, allowing 6 hits, no earned runs, 12 strikeouts, and 1 walk. So he absolutely dominated St. Louis twice. Second time out, it didn't even matter that St. Louis had just seen him. They still didn't really do anything against him. So he dominates St. Louis. And then if you look at his numbers against St. Louis, 56 at-bats, 19-5 strikeout walk ratio, 143 average allowed, 463 OPS allowed. He has absolutely wrecked St. Louis. He's dominated them. And then he's up against McGreevy, who did have numbers that I kind of liked when I was looking at him. He's a young guy with, I think, some talent, but he's really started to pitch poorly. 5.08 ERA, 1.23 whip isn't that bad, but he's really starting to struggle. And you want to talk about significant splits. He's been way worse at home. I know it's a small sample size, but 6.86 ERA at home. He's not getting it done at home. He just pitched against San Diego twice and allowed 11 earned runs in 10 2/3 innings, which is not a good sign. It allowed 16 hits over that span and only had a 6-3 strikeout walk ratio. So he's not striking guys out. He's not pitching well. Not pitching well recently. He did have one start against the Cubs this season too, and the Cubs dealt him one of his worst starts of the season of his career. His second worst start was here in the stadium. His 2 worst starts are both in the stadium against San Diego and against this Cub team. 4 2/3 innings, the Cubs smacked him for 7 hits, 5 earned runs, only 1 strikeout and 1 walk. So he got blasted by the Cubs. Cubs hit him well, and of course that does mean the Cubs have good numbers against him. In 23 at-bats, 348 average, 853 OPS, 1-1 strikeout walk ratio. I know it's basically only 1 start. It's a small sample size, but I think you gotta go with the Cubs there. I think it's too much of an advantage for the Cubs there, man. It looks like they have just a super, super edge in that game. So I don't like going on these public road favorites, though, man. I'm almost never going to do it. When the money is like disagreeing with you and going against you. Maybe the money is just disagreeing with it because of the price, man. But I think if you go with the run line, you get a better price on it. But you do need the Cubs to win by margin and dominate the game, which hopefully will happen. And then Tampa, Seattle. As I did point out, Seattle did play yesterday, so I forgot about that. But they're not traveling. They did go into extra innings. So that's a little bit of an issue because I am going to go with an under in this game. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think we might want to convert this to a first 5-inning under. Hold on a minute. I wasn't thinking about this. I handicapped this really quick. Seattle used all but one of their relief pitchers, so I am worried about that. So if you want to fade Seattle in this game, there is something to that where the money is heavily coming in on Tampa. Seattle, 71% of tickets on them, 68% of the cash coming in on Tampa. So the money is significantly coming in on Tampa. Seattle down from -135 to -117. So I do agree with that full game. I think Tampa has a big-time bullpen edge because their bullpen isn't that much worse than Seattle's. Although I do think Seattle does have the better hitting, probably does have the better bullpen, but the bullpen is completely unrested. So I'm going to hold on a minute. I might have to not play this game, actually, so hold on. My apologies if that's the case, because I like the under in this game, but if we have to go first 5 innings here, I was thinking both teams were rested, but Seattle played yesterday, and boy, did they not rest their bullpen. Let me see. What's the best we can get on the first 5? You can go under 4 at -115, which I see out there at BetMGM. MGM always lags behind, man. So, do I want to still give you that play? I don't know. I mean, I kind of do because the fact that Seattle did play yesterday doesn't mean that their bats could be a little bit tired early on in the game. I'm tempted to do it, but you have to really look to try to find that number of under 4, man. Should I give it out as a play? Yeah, why not? Let's do it. It is out there, so hopefully you guys have a book that lags like that. Because otherwise, I would go up to about -120 on that, and otherwise I would probably pass on that one. But so it's contingent on you finding a number on that's good enough. But I'm going to go under 4, Tampa Bay, Seattle, first 5 innings. That's what I'm going to do because I like the starting pitching matchup. The money is still coming in on the under. It's a low total. I mean, Seattle, pitcher-friendly park. We have 57% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the under. I like the starting pitching matchup here for the under, man. We got Rasmussen pitching for Tampa Bay here. Again, Tampa does have the rest edge here. They are traveling in, but they're only traveling up the Pacific Coast from Anaheim, so they're already adjusted to the time zone. So that is another indicator that maybe Tampa's a decent way to look on the side in this game. Full game, though. I would play them full game. But Rasmussen has been Tampa's best starter this year, 2.81 ERA, 1.02 whip. They've been limiting his pitch count, though. He's a little bit worse on the road, 3.34 ERA. Still not bad, though. Coming off a shutout for 5 1/3 against the Dodgers. That's a pretty good sign. He had a decent start at the start before that against the Yankees. Going into the All-Star break, he pitched in the All-Star game. They were limiting his pitch count, and it looks like they're still limiting his pitch count a little bit. They're pretty much letting him go 5 innings in every game at this point, but that's all we need when it's a first 5-inning play, man. So them limiting his pitch count a little bit won't really matter here. He is pitching well. Over that span. Tampa has actually won 4 of his last 5 starts, too. So if you want to look at it that way, Tampa is winning behind him quite a bit as well. So that's pretty good as well. What else was I going to say here? He hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start, going all the way back through the beginning of July. And again, it's a good sign that his last 2 starts were both pretty good against hard-hitting Yankee and Dodger lineups. And again, they're ramping up his pitch count a little bit. But what I was going to say is he's really efficient with his pitches, too. He makes it through 5 innings, usually only throwing around 80 pitches, too. So that means he's not worn out. He's not burned out by throwing too many pitches. His numbers are pretty good against Seattle in 37 at-bats, 16-2 strikeout-walk ratio, 270 average. But they haven't really hit him for power, 686 OPS. So he's been pretty good against them. Luis Castillo for Seattle is pitching well as well, 3.22 ERA, 1.21 whip. He's been really good at home, 2.4 ERA at home, so his home road splits are good. He's coming off an ugly start against Texas where he didn't even make it 5 innings. He threw too many pitches, but he held them in check a little bit, only allowing 2 earned runs, 4-1 strikeout walk ratio. I'm not ready to say that Castillo's in bad form or anything like that because over the month of July, his team won a bunch of his starts. His team had gone on a run where they had won 6 of his 7 starts. They've still won 6 of his last 8 starts. He had a 32-4 strikeout walk ratio in July, 2.05 ERA in July. So he is still pitching well, in my opinion. And he has good numbers against Tampa for the most part. 65 at-bats, 23-5 strikeout walk ratio, 215 batting average allowed. Still a pretty low 702 OPS, even though it's, I guess, a little bit high because they do have 3 home runs off him from Diaz, Fortes, and Lowe. But other than that, under's going to be the play in that one. My mistake. There it is up there again. Tampa, Seattle, first 5 under in the first 5 innings. And now let's close it out by going to the NFL, man. So the NFL, again, similar to what I said yesterday, in the preseason, these lines just go crazy, man. You really have to get these numbers before they start going out of control here, man. Because these lines move insanely in preseason once the word comes out, like, oh, this team is going to be playing their starting quarterback now. And I think the line over adjusts to it, too. Like you saw yesterday, those teams didn't even cover the numbers yesterday, but they did still score a lot. So I think that's maybe the way you want to focus on this is by looking at the team totals again in these games, because these teams that are starting their starting quarterbacks should mean that they're going to have a potential to score more. And then you don't even have to worry about whatever the hell their defense does, or the fact that their quarterback's going to be out of the game at some point, because you're still getting a low total on these preseason games. I mean, they're all in the 30s, so that means that your team total, even with the favorite, is probably still only going to be like 20 or maybe even less. So I think it is the way to look on some of these games, man. So preseason, if you got the better number on the team before the line moved, that's fine. Like if you played like the Panthers or the Patriots at like a lower number, you got value on that play. So I'm not going to knock you for that. It's a good play. But now that the line has moved completely out of control, I think you got to look like to the team total market or something like that. So the Browns are playing the Panthers. The Browns, Joe Flacco is probably going to be their starter to start the season, but he's either resting or he might be a little bit injured or something because he's an old man. The Browns have said they're going to go with Shadur Sanders in this game just to see what they have in him, basically. It seems like he's still the third-string quarterback in the depth chart, or maybe even fourth, but they're going to let him go in this game just to see what the hell he can do. So he's going to play in this game, which seems like a bad idea to me, to be honest. I don't think Sanders is ever going to amount to anything in the NFL, man. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed by going 13-12 at Colorado and, you know, with all the nepotism with your father being the coach there. I don't like it. I don't think he's going to translate to the NFL. The Panthers, the main reason why the line did move up isn't because the odds makers are like, oh, Shadur Sanders sucks. Although I think that's slightly a part of it. But the Panthers have said they're going to play Bryce Young in this game. So the Panthers are going to play their starting quarterback because I think they want to get him some reps in there because he didn't play early in the season last year. So I think they want to get him ready. So that's becoming more common in the NFL here, man. With the shortened preseason now, with only 3 games in the preseason now. If it was still 4 games, you probably wouldn't see the starters playing in the first game. But I think you're going to have to see the total market start to adjust for this because the starting quarterbacks are starting to play. This total at 33 is really low. But Panthers have moved up from 1.5 to 6.5. Now, there's no way you can lay 6.5 with them. But if you want to play Panthers team total over, I don't hate that idea, obviously, because you're going to have Bryce Young in there for probably multiple series in the game, so you'll get off to a decent start there. You could look at like the first half market as well and look to play the Panthers just to cover a first half number. But I prefer the team total, man, or even get more granular with it and go first half team total over when their starting quarterback is going to be in there. That would probably be the way that I would look in that game. Lions, Falcons. Lions up from 1.5 to 3.5 here. I don't believe that either team is playing their starting quarterback or anything like that. Or I don't think you're going to see Goff or Penix Jr. in this game, but I do like the Lions side in this game because the Lions have a game under their belt already. So they're the only team besides the Chargers that already played in the preseason. They played like that extra game in the Hall of Fame game, which counts as like not being in preseason week 1 for whatever reason. I don't know why that's the case. That used to be part of preseason week 1. I don't get it. But the Lions, I think they have an advantage now because they played. They got a game under the belt, and they actually got embarrassed. And no team wants to get embarrassed, man. So I think the Lions, the fact that they're used to, playing a little bit, they've gotten some rhythm in preseason now. I think the Lions are going to actually be the right side in this game. I think they'll come out with some motivation here to try to win this game. Whoever their backup quarterbacks are who played in that last game, I think it's actually... Is it Easton Stick? Is that who they actually have? I forget. I think it might be Easton Stick now and somebody else. I actually can't remember. But they have guys that have a little bit of experience at the very least. Let me see. No, what am I saying? Who has Easton Stick? No, it's Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen. I don't know. But whichever one of them played in the last game, they'll be playing again. So they at least have, they've gotten into some rhythm with the offense at least. Atlanta has said that they're not playing Penix or Kirk Cousins because they still have Kirk Cousins there too, I believe. So they're playing whoever, I don't know. They have some third-string quarterback playing for Atlanta. So all that being said, yeah, I think Detroit is the right side in that game if you're going to look at that game. They have Easton Stick. Sorry. Easton Stick is going to be playing for Atlanta. So he does have some experience playing in the NFL, right? Because he made some starts when Herbert was hurt when he was on the Chargers. So Easton Stick, I don't hate him, but Yeah, I mean, I would still lean to Detroit in this game. You lost a little bit of value. They're up from 1.5 to 3.5 here now. If you want to go team total on Detroit, I think that's also still fine in that one. Although I'd be looking still more towards the Lions because it doesn't have to do with the starting quarterbacks being in the game in this one. I would still kind of look towards the Lions being the right side. Maybe a money line player if you can play like less. If you can play at -3 on the Lions instead of 3.5, you might want to still do that. And then Washington Redskins. I'm not calling them the Commanders, man. Hate it. They're playing the Patriots, and I believe these are all at the home team stadiums, if I'm not mistaken. I checked yesterday. I'm not checking today, but Patriots up from 2 to 6.5 here now, man. So the money has obviously come in on the Patriots. You can't lay a touchdown with the Patriots in a game with totals like this, although the total in this one is actually up to 36.5. 37 is kind of the key number in preseason week 1. For whatever reason, that seems to be the deciding factor where like a majority of the games go under that number. But this is a game where I would go Patriots over their team total, man. You can't lay a line like this. And the reason why the Patriots have moved up like this, obviously, Drake May is playing in this game. That's why. I don't know how long he's going to play in the game. He'll probably play at least a couple series in this game. For Washington, you're not going to see their starters. You're not going to see Jaden Daniels in this game. So that's why the line has gone up like this, because the Patriots want to get Drake May ready, because I believe he didn't start at the beginning of the year last year either. So they want to get some games under his belt there. So that's why. So that's the rundown for the NFL there. And I think that's going to do it, man. Once again, my plays today, I'm going crazy with the baseball plays and not even looking into the market reads at all. First 5 innings, Miami Marlins on the run line, -0.5 run. We have under full game Royals, Minnesota, which I think you might be able to get it under 9. Now, Chicago Cubs, -1.5 run line, full game. And at least they're on the road, too, so you'll get the full 9 innings of bats out of them. So I like that one. And then first 5 innings, under 4, Rays, Mariners. That's going to do it for me, man. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram, where I put short Bettor Off Dead content. Bettor Off Dead content. Maybe I should just change the name of the show at this point, man. We should change it to the Dildo Dilemma or something like that. Change it to professional dildo throwing. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. And then, what else was I going to say? Oh, right. Bettor Off Dead, of course. Please, like, subscribe, follow. Let's get this channel up to a point where it's monetized on YouTube. I am on the audio platforms, which are monetized, but unless you get big numbers on the audio platforms, you don't bring in a lot of money. So hopefully somehow that will spike a bit. It's on Spotify audio and Apple audio, whatever, Apple Podcasts. And then Covered in Uke is my ukulele project on YouTube, which I haven't been doing a whole lot with that recently because I did just release that original album that I released only on Twitter, but maybe I'll have to get that up on YouTube. I guess it's just a chore to try to get all that stuff up, and I'm not organized with my videos, so I got to get that all ready, man. Got to do it, and that's on YouTube and patreon.com/learntotode, and you can throw some support, and you'll get some bonus content. You'll get Spotify Uke feed at one of the levels and prioritized requests at one of the levels. That's going to do it, man. Long show today. NFL preseason. I don't know if I really want to break down every NFL preseason game. I've never done that before on the show. It takes forever. And at some point, I might have another job I have to deal with as well, hopefully. So we'll see, man. But that's going to do it for now. Peace out. Let's start the weekend right, man. Happy Friday. TGIF.